Hello, I'm Thanasis Velios and I'm going to show you how to use the JAX-Front utility to record your bindings and their condition. First of all, I'm going to start by running the XUI editor, which is a JAX-Front utility that I have just downloaded from the JAX-Front website. When you run this, it should look a bit like that. I'm using a Ubuntu Linux system to run this utility, but as it's cross-platform, it would run equally well on a Windows machine or a Mac OS machine. I'm clicking on the Open a File button of the toolbar. A new window comes up and asks me two questions. The first one is to provide an XML schema. The XML schema is the file that defines the data that we need to collect for every book. Over here I'm using the basic schema that we used at the St. Catherine's project when we were working on the printed books. This file can be downloaded from the LIGATUS website. The second question is for the XUI file, which is the file that defines the appearance of the form, the colors, the size of the fonts, the size of the buttons, etc. Again, this file can be downloaded from the LIGATUS website. If I click Open, JAX-Front will read these two files. It might take a few seconds, but I can monitor the progress by looking at the bottom right corner of the of my window. The reason why it takes so long is because the St. Catherine's survey form is extremely detailed, and therefore there are hundreds of fields that need to be loaded at this stage. The files are now loaded, and I can click under the XML schema tab to see the different types of data that I need to input for each book. If I want to make this data user-friendly, I then need to click on the running man, and that will bring the form, which is a lot better than having the previous view of the data. So this form is very simple to use. On the top I've got multiple tabs. Each one of them corresponds to a major component of a bound book. By clicking on a field, I'm now ready to type, so I'm going to give a shelf mark MS Greek 0001. Please note at the bottom of this form, whenever I change a field, the description of what this field means changes. So in a way I've got the documentation embedded in my form. Different information for author, different for place of printing. So if I forget something, I can always look it up down here. I'll continue with filling in some fictional data. My title, my author, etc. I'd like to show you how this system can correct accidental mistakes. In the opening characteristics tab, there are various boxes where I'm asked to type in the angle at which a book can open. We have agreed that the maximum degrees for that angle is 180. So if I put the angle here for a stiff book, say 90 degrees, the system is happy. If, however, I have made a mistake and I typed 190 degrees, which is above my maximum, the system indicates my error by drawing a red box around the field. So I know I need to go back and correct it. 180 is the maximum. Now it's happy. The next thing I'd like to show you is how the form dynamically changes according to the choices of the surveyor. Whenever you see NC means not checked, this is different than not known, in that when you haven't checked a feature on a book, then you can't tell what happens, not because it's visually impossible, it's because you haven't checked it. Now say we've checked now our book for Marcus, and indeed we have two markers. One is a page marker series. I can collapse that to take up less space, and I'm adding another one which is a bookmark. Now you notice that as I change from page markers to bookmark, the options underneath that change as well, and that happens continuously throughout the form. If I change the type of the bookmark to simple, new questions appear that apply to simple only. The material would then be, say, a ribbon, and then the material of the ribbon would be silk. And I've gone all the way to as much detail as I wanted to define the bookmark. I'm collapsing this field and I'm going back to the page markers. Again, here I have various choices to make. I can say that this is tan skin, hence I need to define what animal and what color. I'll say red. Similarly here, page markers need to appear at a certain point in the book, either the head or the tail or the forage of the book. I've got, say, 4 in the forage, in the head, and I need to add another location, which is going to be the forage. I've got lots in the forage, and instead of having to count all of them and waste time, the instruction box down here tells me that I can use, apart from a positive number, the word multiple, which is what I'm using. So we can see now how the form dynamically changes and how I can add multiple items in the form. That was an advantage when it comes to that's an advantage when it comes to complicated bookbinding structures. I can go on and fill in various fields, but of course it takes a long time. Instead, what I'm going to do is close this form and reopen, click on open again, and type in something in this box over here. The XML instance is the box that allows us to load an existing file, an existing bookbinding description that we have saved on our disk. Clicking the open button, I'm going on the desktop and I've got printed book 2165 from the St. Catherine's Monastery, which I'm going to open and open again. And this will load not only the form as we had it previously, but also the specific data for that book. Again, it takes a few seconds to load because of the detail of the form. I'm clicking on the running man again, and I can now see the form with the information for the specific book, book 2165. Please note that you can have Greek characters there as well as characters from any other language, because XML is Unicode. And I'd like to show you how to validate this document. This document was created at the monastery and has already been validated, so I know it's correct. But for argument's sake, I'll click on this button and there's a new note appearing on the top right corner saying that the document is valid. If for some reason I had forgotten, say, to include the color of the text of the ink in this section, if I now try to validate and forgot about it, went back to the beginning, if I now try to validate, it tells me that the document has errors. By clicking on that, I have a list of errors, only one in this case. And by clicking on that, the system takes me straight away to the field where the problem exists. So I need to type here that the color of the ink is black, validate again, and the system is now happy. Having done that, I can save the file using the same file name. And now I'm ready to close this and restart the form for a new book.